Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Tuesday edition of Source 16 News. I'm Eddie Owen. Thanks for joining us. Topping our news, the National Weather Service in Paducah has issued a winter weather advisory for a small portion of the Source 16 viewing area. The advisory has been issued for Callaway, Christian, Muhlenberg, Todd, and Trigg counties. Now, with your first look at what we can expect overnight, here is meteorologist David Bryant.
Well, Eddie, this is still a developing situation. As you can see here, the counties shaded in blue that you mentioned there do have that winter weather advisory in effect. And we could see the snowfall totals really go from very little right along the Ohio River, maybe dusting to an inch or so, to piling up rather quickly over a very short distance. We're going to have that precipitation moving up from the south and then that cold air working its way in. So we could go from maybe an inch or so to 3+ inches as you get down along the Kentucky-Tennessee border. Just over the border, down into Middle Tennessee, we could see anywhere from 4 to 6 inches, and some estimates that I've seen upwards of 8 inches of snowfall in some pockets here where they actually have a winter storm warning. Notice how close we are to that. So anything really goes right along that Kentucky-Tennessee border for the overnight hours, could come down very quickly and accumulate very fast, then should taper off as we go through the early morning hours, gradually diminishing, and then we'll see some sunshine actually returning by the end of the day tomorrow. Eddie?
All right, thanks, David. We'll be back with a complete look of weather in just a few minutes. Meanwhile, as Source 16 News reported last night, a national salt supply shortage is causing many states, including Kentucky, to be in conservation mode on salt usage. The shortage is also affecting the Christian County Road Department's salt supply.
Well, problem too with short supply. We got roughly 250 tons still on order, and we've been waiting for a number of weeks. We're promised the salt, but everybody's out, and it's salt suppliers out. They promised me there's a barge coming, but we haven't received it yet. So yeah, we're looking at roughly 250 tons still waiting.
According to Chambers, hundreds of pounds of salt was used during last week's snowfall.
Generally, on a day-to-day basis, when we run our routes, we'll run roughly about 100 tons per day on a route. So right now, we've used 200 tons the last 2 days. And of course, we've had more than those episodes. So we use roughly about $28,000 to $30,000 worth of salt.
In Kentucky and Tennessee are conserving salt over the next couple of weeks until inventories are replenished. Charred furniture and walls of a Butler Road residence is all that remains of a mobile home following an electrical fire this afternoon. The Highland Volunteer Fire Department responded to 3092 Butler Road and reports most of the damage was caused to the back of the home. According to firefighters on the scene, no one was injured at the time of the fire. Fire Chief Henry Jaco told Source 16 what he believes caused the fire.
We had a house that was smoke coming out of the rear of it. It appears to be that it was a electrical fire, that either a electrical appliance sparked and caught the back end of the trailer on fire. So had minimal damage at this point, a lot of smoke damage, but we were able to contain it in the hallway of the trailer.
According to Jaco, this is the second time the fire department has responded to the residence owned by Barbara Gibbs. Mayfield Mayor Teresa Cantrell is encouraging Mayfield and Graves County residents and business owners to put their money where their lives are. The Mayfield-Graves County Chamber of Commerce hosted an Eggs and Issues breakfast for residents and business owners this morning. Newly elected Mayor Cantrell stressed that she is working hard to change the perception of Mayfield and its small economy.
Our communities in small towns in America, we all would agree that we're all struggling. We've bought into the idea as Americans that in the marketing realm that bigger is better and newer is better. When we do that, we ignore the opportunities that are literally beneath our noses.
Cantrell asked the local residents and businesses to support and invest in local merchants in Graves County. Judge Executive Tony Smith delivered a surprising message saying the county has one of the lowest tax rates and debt ratios in western Kentucky. A deceased animal removal program got a much-needed boost in funds this morning. During fiscal court, the Christian County Conservation District presented Judge Executive Steve Tribble with a $5,000 grant.
We almost lost that program last year. Remember, we had a series of meetings last year. The company that we contracted with for years, Griffin Industries, went out of business. So we had a request for proposal. We had 4 companies bid on it, and we entered into an agreement with the company that had the best bid. But and so we pay them a certain amount of money per month to pick up the animals on call. But now we have a program where the people who have the animals that are deceased pay a copay.
In other business, magistrates unanimously approved a $250,000 community development block grant to go towards the Trilogy Recovery Center, which helps women suffering from substance abuse get back on their feet. Meanwhile, magistrates approved an emergency management mutual aid and assistance agreement with the state.
If we have a large event, a tornado or a catastrophic event that requires a lot of response from our local resources, and we start to tax our resources, it's an agreement between the state that will bring in the state resources to help us respond and mitigate the event.
Fiscal Court also renewed a health services agreement with the County Road Department for random drug tests and officially named Irene Grace as the Christian County Animal Shelter Director. Well, the Graves County Health Department has seen a growing number of people who have tested positive for tuberculosis. Tuberculosis cases are divided into 2 types, active and latent. And while the department has not recorded any new active cases, they have seen a slight rise in the number of patients who have tested positive for latent TB in the past several months. Registered nurse Kathy Gifford says the rise in numbers could come from immigrants and refugees from outside of the country.
Tuberculosis, active tuberculosis, is more common in the other countries outside of the United States, not all of them, but most of them. And those countries are receiving refugees and immigrants and whatnot from those countries. Therefore, the rise in LTBI cases, if not eventually active cases.
Gifford explains that not everyone should be worried about being at risk.
You know, if you're never around these foreign-born people and you're not HIV positive or diabetic or have some other disease that decreases your immune system, you're not at real high risk. And that's why we have a screening tool for that, to determine whether somebody even needs a TB skin test. And if you're not at risk, we don't give it.
If you would like more information about tuberculosis, you can visit the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention website at cdc.gov/TB. Later in the week, Source 16 will have a more in-depth look at tuberculosis. A 31-year-old Hopkinsville woman injured when her vehicle was hit by a train on East 1st Street last year has filed a lawsuit against CSX Transportation. According to court records, Natasha Hobson and her husband Carl filed the lawsuit claiming that on January 14, 2010, their vehicle was hit by a CSX train due in whole or part to negligence by CSX. Court records indicate that the couple are seeking compensation for pain and suffering, loss of wages, and more since the time of the accident. The complaint states that the defendant, CSX Transportation, has known about the line of sight problems at the intersection where the wreck occurred and failed to correct the defect. According to the Hopkinsville police report, Hobson told officers she did not see the flashing railroad lights at the track, but the train operator stated he observed the lights flashing and 2 other vehicles stop at the tracks. The train operator also told police that Hobson did not stop or even slow down, causing him to slam on the brakes, but he couldn't get the 13,000-ton train to stop in time and crashed into Hobson's vehicle, pushing it about 350 feet. Well, after spending a year in the court system waiting for his fate to be decided, a man charged with murder in a drunken crash decided Monday to determine his own fate. James Pipool took a plea deal yesterday and entered a guilty plea to second-degree manslaughter, aggravated DUI, and fleeing the scene of an accident in connection to the October 2009 vehicular death of Donnie Houston of Camden. Investigators said the wreck occurred when Pipool swerved in front of a Pepsi delivery truck driven by Houston, which caused the truck to hit a tree and explode, killing Houston. Prosecutors in the case requested Callaway County Circuit Court Judge Dennis Faust to give Pipool a minimum 10-year sentence. Formal sentencing is February 28th. Pipool will remain out of jail on bond. On the last day to file as a candidate for the May primary election, Jefferson County's clerk has decided to throw her hat in the ring to run for governor of Kentucky. Republican Bobby Holsclaw of Louisville filed her candidacy papers today with the Secretary of State's office and lists her running mate for lieutenant governor as Bill Vermillion Jr. of Caneyville. In the upcoming primary, the pair will face off against Republicans Phil Moffitt of Louisville and his running mate Mike Harmon of Danville, as well as Senate President David Williams of Burkesville and Agricultural Commissioner Richie Farmer. No one has filed to run in the May primary election against Democrat Governor Steve Beshear and his running mate, Louisville Mayor Jerry Abramson. Meanwhile, Democrat John Ferris Lackey, a Richmond attorney, is the latest to file for the Commissioner of Agriculture seat. He'll be up against other Democrats, David Lynn Williams of Glasgow, B.D. Wilson of Frankfort, Stuart Gritton of Lawrenceburg, and Bob Farmer of Louisville. Now, on the Republican side, State Representative Jamie Comer of Tompkinsville and Bob Rothenberger of Shelbyville have applied for that office. A man accused of attempting to kidnap a young girl in Graves County last year will go to trial in May. Graves Circuit Judge Tim Stark scheduled 23-year-old Yusuf Hassan's trial for May 24th. Hassan was arrested last year and charged with attempted kidnapping after he allegedly tried to take a 12-year-old girl while she was walking home from school. The girl reportedly told police a Somali man in a white car without a license plate tried to grab her, but she escaped and ran to her mother's workplace. Her mother then called police and officers found the car and Hassan nearby. Police say the victim identified Hassan in a photo lineup as the man that tried to kidnap her. Hassan's attorney argued that the photo lineup was not admissible and filed a motion to suppress the evidence, but Judge Stark disagreed and will allow it into evidence. A preschool mother is facing theft charges after she allegedly took money and a wallet from two elementary school teachers Monday morning. According to the Marshall County Sheriff's Department, a preschool mother picking up her child was suspected of entering two classrooms at Jonathan Elementary School on U.S. Highway 68 East in Benton and taking $87 cash from one teacher's purse and taking another teacher's wallet. An officer went to the home of 23-year-old Sarah Linson on Barge Island Road, and when questioned about the theft, she admitted to entering the classrooms and, when no one was looking, taking the items. Police recovered the cash from Linson, and the wallet was recovered in the girls' bathroom at the school. Linson was charged with 2 counts of theft. Well, get ready. In addition to snow, tonight's Mega Millions jackpot is $63 million. Wednesday's Powerball jackpot is $20 million.